What is good, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with Tesla, SPY, NVDA, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I'm going to break down what's happening with the inflationary data coming out for tomorrow and how this could affect the markets. Some things about what Jerome Powell just said, what you should be watching for as time progresses. But before I begin the devil's information, before I get into any more details, let me just mention a couple of things. I am personally not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Moomoo link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Moon, deposit $100, you're guaranteed 7 free stocks, and offer ends very soon in just about 14 days. Anyways, for Tesla, we have a very, very interesting breakout like structure that's developing. Tesla's broken past this white trend line of resistance, and we got a very, very nice looking push towards our resistance close to 180. Tesla also has a nice looking accumulation structure with an inverse head and shoulders breakout, so it looks more bullish than bearish from a technical standpoint, but whether or not this continues also depends on CPI. So I'm going to break down more details about CPI and the overall market. I'll be talking about Tesla SPY and all these other tickers charts, and also AMC and GameStop and many others. But let's first talk about this. Tomorrow is going to be Wednesday, May 15th, 2024. 1 hour before the market opens at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we have core CPI, CPI month over month, and year over year all coming out. This is going to be very, very important. Now, when this data comes out, we're going to be looking at a very, very big move. It's going to affect the way that the Fed's policies end up changing and what sentiment we get from the market moving forward. This could cause the market to get a very, very big rug pull and start dipping quite a bit, or it could cause the market to do the opposite, to start pumping very, very hard and continuing this nice rally that we're seeing. So the question is, what's going to happen? We're expecting core CPI to be 0.3%. We're expecting core CPI year over year to be around 3.6 to 3.7%. And then for inflation month over month, we want 0.3 to 0.4%. And year over year for all items, we want 3.4 to 3.5%. If we get numbers harder than that, that's going to be a little bit more bearish for the markets. And when I talk about bad numbers, I'm referring to the numbers being hot. And if they're cooler than that on average, or at least for most of these sectors, then it's not going to look it's going to be a lot better, at least for the markets, and we could continue to rally. Just want to make that very, very clear. Now, what else helped the market kind of push the way it has been is Jerome Powell. So PPI data came out today. This is a leading indicator for CPI. The numbers were not very good. Year over year, yes, we were aligned with expectations for core and also for all items, but the issue is we were on the harder ends of expectations, and then month over month, all the numbers were pretty hot at 0.5%. We wanted them to be around 0.2 or 0.3%. So month over month, inflation has been going up, at least for the producer side. This is a bad sign for CPI, but year over year, the numbers are looking pretty good. This is not the best of signs, and in my personal opinion, when Jerome Powell gave his speech, when Jerome Powell ended up talking about everything like this, things were not really that great. He basically started saying that, oh, everything's okay. The economy is looking very, very strong. The labor market is also doing very well. And that's based off the current data. But you have to remember that his data is also delayed. So he's using very delayed data when making those claims. And I also just kind of feel like, in my personal opinion, Jerome Powell is not really accounting for the hotter than expected inflationary numbers. And he could have been much more hawkish than he actually was, in my personal opinion. So I want to make it very clear that, yes, data could look good, but that does not mean everything is good. Okay. Data could be very manipulated. Data is not always very sufficient. And you shouldn't always believe everything that comes out of Jerome Powell's mouth, in my opinion. He is the same guy that told us that inflation is transitory and all these different things. So that's something else that's worth noting. That's something you guys have to remember. So with Jerome Powell saying that the economy is strong and this and that, being a lot more dovish, the market continued to pump as the day progressed. And then going into tomorrow, whether this continues will also be dependent on CPI. For CPI, let me just make it very clear that for all items, it's actually trending upwards. This is not the best of signs so far. It is heavily influenced by gas prices, which are still pretty high. They're actually about the same as what we saw last month. And then what we also saw is the fact that for core CPI, this has been kind of stagnant, very sticky, but very stagnant so far. If you look at the numbers right here, CPI was 0.4% in February, 0.4% in March. It still has been quite hot. If you look at gas prices, last month, on average, and we have actually the regular mid-grade premium diesel and everything, all these different numbers, everything was actually about the same currently compared to where it basically was last month. So last month, for instance, regular gasoline, according to the data, was $3.63. This month, or at least right now, the average is about $3.61 across the USA. And then the numbers are very similar compared to the previous month. You could just look at the chart here. So this is like 1 month ago. This whole like little row right here. And then we also have the current ones right here. You guys can see the numbers are very similar. Some are a little bit cooler, but very, very similar. Now, when it comes to CPI versus crude futures have been going down just a little bit. That could be a little bit better for CPI, but that doesn't really account for core and anything else like that. So month over month, things are not looking too bad for CPI in terms of gas prices, based off the data we're getting. But other factors such as commodities could still be kind of hot. I also want to note that when it comes to sentiment for the markets, right now things are kind of neutral. They're not too greedy, not too fearful, kind of in the middle. Market momentum is also quite greedy as we're seeing more buyers still continuing to step in. And then two more things, the puts and call option positioning is at extreme greed because we're seeing puts being closed, calls being bought, and we're seeing more hedging with more shares basically being entered in. And then market volatility is currently neutral as we have a big gap to fill on the VIX. So something else that's worth noting. I also wanted to note that when it comes to earnings, for tomorrow, we have Monday.com and Dole. For Thursday, we have Walmart, not to mention JD.com and John Deere, and just a couple of retail ones. Today, we just had new announced earnings, very minor earnings. Everything was in line with expectations for them. Their overall guidance was so-so, and that's why the share price is kind of like flat right now. As far as Tesla goes, there's some news coming out that Tesla is being sued over air pollution from the factory operations in Fremont, California. So that's for the Giga Fremont or the Giga California, whatever you want to call it. That's something else worth noting. That's not the best of news for Tesla, but this came out actually earlier today, so it didn't really affect us too much. Tesla's still holding up decently despite this. And I think that CPI will have a bigger effect on it. There's also news coming out that Warren Buffett is saying that Tesla achieving FSD would be good for society and bad for insurance companies' volume. I actually agree with him, at least in that claim. Different people could have different opinions on this, such as the effect it's going to have on uh, like different industries, as it's going to be very disruptive. But at the same time, there will be a lot of good, as this is a very, very big industry. It's also going to be worth trillions, at least for the market and also for Tesla. So that being said, guys, that is it for news and such. I want to give you guys a good summary of how things are looking for tomorrow as we have important data coming out. Now let's break down the charts and talk about how things are looking, in my opinion. I'm going to try my best to be very unbiased as well. So if we get a decent CPI, hypothetically, and that just means the numbers are cool, Tesla could start pushing for this 180 resistance. If we break this imbalance could take us all the way up to 182 plus or higher. If we're bearish tomorrow and CPI is harder than expected and the market gets a rug pull, hypothetically, Tesla will come down to 176.25, then eventually start dipping down towards 172 all over again and retest this trend line, in my personal opinion. Now, how does it look from a technical standpoint? The answer is bullish. It looks bullish because we basically got rejected off this white trend line one, two, and also like three times for the past couple of weeks. And then today we finally broke past it as exactly as I predicted yesterday. We did get a nice breakout on Tesla, and the chart is looking more bullish, but we need confirmation for a continuation. We have to try to break 180. We have to see if more buyers step in or not. So just be very, very patient. Technicals do look more bullish, and they favor Tesla pushing up to at least 182 plus. That's more probable in my opinion, but it depends on CPI and more data. So we'll just have to wait and see. Because remember, Tesla is very sensitive to interest rates. That's very important because interest rates affect Tesla big time. It affects their demand and also how likely people are to take on loans. So that's very important for Tesla. Interest rates are going to be heavily dictated by CPI that comes out tomorrow. That's why it's very, very important for Tesla. That's why you have to be watching the chart very carefully. How about for SPY? How is SPY looking, in my personal opinion? Well, with all the words from Jerome Powell, SPY started to push up to about 524, and the chart looks bullish in my personal opinion, especially on the 4-hour time frame. Now, if you want to be unbiased, just remember this. If CPI were to come in hot, watch 522.6, 521.5, and 520 as support. We're going to likely dip down to 520, if not 518, if we get a very hot CPI. If CPI is decent, if we get the numbers below basically what the expectations are, CPI could actually help the market push higher, be used as another excuse for more trading, for more volatility, and more orders. In my personal opinion, I think that SPY could start pushing higher from a technical standpoint. So the all-time high, it does look more probable now. If we break this, we're going to easily get very close to about 530. So there is more upside potential, but do not be too comfortable with that just yet. We have to, excuse me, we have to wait and see what the data tells us. Now, let me note that when it comes to the VIX was telling us to be very careful with SPY, but things are shifting on the VIX. The VIX is kind of struggling to get a breakout. We got this little rejection on the 4-hour. We have this gap to fill down below. So the VIX is showing weakness. There's no true sign of a breakout yet, and things are kind of shifting from the way it's moving. So unfortunately, although historical data did show the VIX could have been calling a top for SPY, that is not really playing out as well as before. things are shifting in the market, and there's a lot of manipulation that's playing a role in this rally, such as what Jerome Powell said. So we will see if the market continues. Remember that the PPI data that came out was hot, showing inflation was going up. The inflationary data that came out today was bad. Okay, I'm going to be honest with you. We have more coming out tomorrow. It's going to be CPI. We'll see if that is the same or not, despite that the market is still pumping, despite bad data coming out. That's how crazy the market could be. For NVIDIA, and no matter how crazy the market is, you just have to follow the charts. You have to be unbiased no matter what. And that's something that I just wanted to focus on right now. NVIDIA looks bullish right now from a technical standpoint. It looks like it wants to get up to this imbalance at 920. If we turn bearish, watch 908, 900, and 892. With this nice accumulation in inverse head and shoulders, it looks like it wants to go up to 920. So I do favor that a bit more. But just to be safe, watch for confirmation. See if we break past 920, if we get a rejection. I'll be watching that very, very carefully. For the QQQ, the triple Q, this looks more bullish now. I got a nice breakout. We're also getting a crossover on the PPO. It looks to me like it wants to go up to about 448 and eventually 450. If we lose 446, we're going to be dipping all the way down towards 444, then eventually 442. But this chart looks more bullish nonetheless. It does favor trying to go up to about 448. So be open-minded to anything depending on CPI, but just know that right now the chart does favor the upside. So we'll just have to wait and see what it gives us. The chart could be wrong, of course. It depends on the data. But for now, I just want to let you know what technicals suggest. Apple looks more bullish, trying to get to about 190. It looks like it may try to continue to push. We'll have to wait and see if that ends up being the case. If we lose 186.5, we're going to be dipping down to 185 if we get a hot CPI. If CPI is decent, we're going to be going up to about 190. We'll just wait and see just to be safe. And one more stock worth noting is NEO. NEO is actually pushing nicely as they have Envo coming out, a new sub-brand. New competitive pricing is going to come to NEO, and a new sub-brand is very bullish news, so it could be pushing towards $6 in my personal opinion. Anyways, guys, that is it for the main five I typically talk about. Now I just want to focus on what's going on with the stocks right here and how things are looking. So for Palantir, if we were to be bullish, you want to see it basically break out towards 22.2. If we're bearish, you want to see it lose 21 and start sinking to 20.5. This chart got a nice green bar right here. We got a nice accumulation structure. So it is looking like it wants to go up to 22.2. So that looks a bit more probable in my personal opinion. For Supermicro, Supermicro, in my opinion, is once again looking more bullish. We could be pushing up towards 840. If we break this, we could continue higher to fill this imbalance. If we turn bearish, we're going to be losing 800, and that's going to be dipping even lower. As of right now, the chart looks more bullish for Supermicro, so I do favor 840. I think that Supermicro looks more bullish, so we'll have to see how that ends up looking. That is more probable for now. Now, I don't want to make I don't want to make promises about this just yet. We just have to wait and see what happens with the CPI data. But just to be safe, make sure you watch your charts and you watch your levels just for confirmation. For Rivian, we got a nice push towards this 12 area, then we came back down. We could actually retest 10.8 in the pre-market and try to bounce. If we get our little retest here and we bounce, we're going to be looking for 12 to be coming back again, a bigger push. If we lose 10.75, we're going to be dipping all the way down to 10.1. I'm in the middle right now with this, but the chart is on an uptrend. It's still holding up nicely, so give it some time. For SoFi, we're also looking a little bit more bullish. We have a nice accumulation structure. We're going to likely retest 7.4. If we bounce off this, we're going to be pushing all the way up towards $8, in my opinion. If we lose 7.4, we're going to be sinking down to 7.15. As of right now, the chart is favoring more upside, but just to be safe, watch for confirmation what happens with CPI. For the IWM Russell 2000, the chart is looking more bullish. To me, it's favoring potentially pushing all the way up towards the resistance at this 210 area. If we turn bearish, you want to see it retest 205. If that fails, we're going to be dipping even lower. This chart looks more bullish to me, and I think 210 is a strong possibility. I think that although it looks a bit more bullish, we'll wait and see what CPI tells us just for confirmation. So always be open-minded to that. For AMD, if we break past 153, we're going to be looking for a push all the way up towards about 156.5. And if we end up dipping down, we're going to be looking at 150 as support. If that fails, we're going to be dipping back down. To me, this looks a bit more bullish. I do favor it's going to try to push to the mid 150s. So I'll wait and see if that ends up being the case and just know that this looks a bit more bullish. For ARM, if ARM starts dipping again, if we get a hot CPI, we're going to be looking for a test of about 111. If CPI is decent, we're going to be pushing back up to this imbalance around 122. I'm in the middle right now. We'll just wait and see. Do we get a big rug pull or not? It's kind of like a 7-point move down or 7-point move up. The chart looks more bullish. Looks like it wants to push higher, but just to be safe, we'll wait and see. For Coinbase, Coinbase is turning on the 4-hour time frame. If we break 206, we're going to be looking for a push of 213. If we end up rejecting, we'll be dipping all the way down towards 195. The chart is trying to bounce right here. It's making an attempt, but there's no confirmation for a break yet, so we'll wait and see if we get that tomorrow. Amazon's at resistance at 187. If we break through this, look for 190. If we reject here, we're going to be dipping all the way down towards 183.5. We're in the middle, but I do want to see more buyers step in to try to push this higher. So I'll just wait and see how things end up going. For Meta, if we break resistance at 472, we're going to be pushing up to this imbalance to at least 475 or higher. If we reject, we're going to be dipping down to 466 or lower. There's a potential head and shoulders like structure right here. But we'll have to wait and see if that ends up playing out or not. So sometimes these head and shoulders structures are traps for retail. That's what's been happening this year a lot. And if it's a trap, Meta is going to go higher instead. They're going to trap a lot of people who are trying to short Meta, thinking we have a head and shoulders. So always be open-minded. Always know that because we have this little wick down here, it does have potential to go higher. And we'll just wait and see what happens with CPI. For Microsoft, we're just trading sideways, not really doing a whole lot. If we lose 412.83, we'll be tipping down to 410. If we bounce off this, we're going to be pushing all the way up to about 418. We're in the middle right now, trading sideways, so just wait and see what happens with CPI. For Google, it looks more bullish from a technical standpoint. If we were to turn bearish and lose 170, we're going to be tipping all the way down to 168.5. And if we're bullish, you want to see this nice little accumulation structure lead to a push all the way up towards 173. So we'll just have to wait and see how things look in my personal opinion. Try to be unbiased when looking at this, but this chart does look more bullish in my personal opinion. For GameStop, I know a lot of people are interested in this. We're trying to rebound a little bit. So for tomorrow, look for a test of 60. If we do break through this, we could go even higher. In fact, something else I could do is just take a nice Fibonacci retracement chart. I'm going to show you guys some key levels on this. And as you guys can see, we're actually approaching our, we basically came very close to our 0.618 retracement on GameStop. Now we're trying to rebound a bit. We could be making our way back up to about 60 and then eventually 64. We'll see if we reject or not from there, but look for a little attempts to rebound before we continue, and then we'll see what happens. Same thing with AMC. We'll be watching to see our key levels right here. We also ended up coming all the way back down towards basically below our 0.618 or 0.786 retracement, very close to that area. In my personal opinion, we could be trying to make our way back up towards 9 points. This is like where our 0.382 retracement is, 9.32. We'll see if this rejects or not as well, so just be very, very patient. For the VIX has no confirmation of a true breakout from here. We have this big gap to fill all the way down here towards 12.67, and we'll see if it ends up filling this gap. If this thing turns, we come down to fill this gap, that's going to be once again bullish for the markets because the market's going to rally, this is going to dip. If it's the opposite, if the VIX starts breaking out from here, that could be bearish for the markets as we have a gap to fill above here as well. So we'll just have to wait and see what the VIX does. Are we going to get a breakout in which direction? The 10-year treasury looks a bit more bearish after what Jerome Powell said. That is bullish for the stock market. We have an inverse cup and handle like structure. This might start dipping down towards our 200 EMA. That is once again bullish for the stock market. The dollar is very indecisive. We're at 105. Will we lose 105 and start sinking all the way down to this imbalance towards 104? Or is the dollar about to get a big bounce off 105 and start pushing to this other imbalance at 105.64? That depends on CPI, so we'll just have to wait and see. With that being said, guys, that is it for the analysis for the overall market and all the stocks I typically go over. Just know Tesla looks more bullish overall. Tesla's bullish looking. It's broken the structure, is trying to break out right here. But for this to continue, we have to get confirmation of a hold above the support right here and also try to break past 180. That's the first thing worth noting. And the second thing is we have to see how things end up going with the big data coming out for tomorrow. So we'll see what happens with CPI. We'll be very, very patient nonetheless. It's coming out tomorrow at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Here are the numbers you want to be looking for. You guys can see what the consensus and forecast are on the right. And then this is what the previous numbers were. So we'll wait and see how it goes. We'll be very, very open-minded. Let's hope that the numbers for April are not too bad. All right. So thank you for listening, guys. Have a great day. I'll see you guys very, very soon, at least on the next video. I'm going to be very open-minded nonetheless about how data is looking, and we will see how things look. So let's see if we get a rug pull or not thanks to CPI. Always be open-minded for anything. Just know that the majority of stocks do look a bit more bullish for now, but always be prepared for anything just to be safe. All right. So thank you all so much for listening. I just want to say I really appreciate every single one of you for your views, your likes, and everything. I just want to say that for this channel, I've had a really, really big privilege to be able to make videos like this and to experience what it's like to just post videos, get a lot of appreciation from people in the comments. So I'm very grateful for everyone out there. I'm grateful for all the people that leave nice comments and all the work that I do. And moving forward, I will continue to do what I do. I want to just make my videos more unbiased, though, nonetheless, because sometimes the market could do very unexpected things, and it can be very difficult to predict things even like 2, 3 months out. So you have to be very, very careful. And I just want to make it very clear that being careful and being very open minded is just a big part of day trading and success for a lot of people. All right. So have a great day, guys. Enjoy your evening. I appreciate you guys so much. I want you guys to do very well going into tomorrow. So just get ready for my next video tomorrow morning and we'll see how things go. All right. Thank you for listening and peace out.